Hey guys, I'm Miss Osuna and I'm super excited to share with you how to make this very easy to achieve classic bridal look. Yes, that's right, I said easy to achieve. Anyone can pretty much accomplish this if you have just some basic croquis skills. So, go on ahead and gather the lightest color marker that you have, maybe a light blue or the lightest gray, and a colorless blender. And then you're going to need a fine point marker that's black and a white gel ink pen followed by a correction pen. If you don't have a white correction pen, then you can simply just swap that out for white acrylic paint and a very tiny fine brush. Okay, so that's it. Our supplies are all set. Let me walk you through this super easy tutorial, and I can't wait to see your results. Let's start off by having a croquis on our marker paper, and you can see this silhouette is very full at the hemline. So go on ahead and add some gathers at the waist and a very full hemline. Remember, we did that with smiles and frowns, and you can check our other bridal tutorial for that. So now that it's on our page, you can use a very light sand color, or you could use a very light blue or a very light gray. So you choose which one you want to use, and then a colorless blender like I said earlier, and we will get started with this very fun tutorial. Once you've transferred your croquis onto your marker paper, grab your kneaded eraser or any eraser and just lightly take away some of that lead. That's always super important to do when you are working with markers, because the lead will turn into a muddy look, and this is a white bridal dress, so we definitely want to keep everything nice and bright and clean. So grab whatever kind of eraser you have. I happen to have a kneaded eraser there, and you can see it's self-cleaning. So I recommend getting one of those if you can, and just lightly take away some of that lead. All you need to do is have enough lead on the paper for you to actually see where you're putting your ink. Now we're going to start off with our marker. Remember, it's one of the lightest colors in your palette. So in my case, I have a very light gray. And on our shadow side, I've chosen the left side to be shadow. That's where we start. So we are just literally putting in the neckline very gently. And then we're going to move on and put in our armhole and our side seams. I have a very light pressure on the pen tip, especially on the right side because it's my light source side. So as you continue to practice, remember that pressure being very light is key here. Then we're going to add some gather lines at the waist. Those are our parenthesis shapes. On the left side, the parenthesis shape curves and faces the right. On the right side, that parenthesis shape curves and faces left. Now we're going to go on ahead and add the sides, and starting from our hem, the bottom going upward. So remember, these were created with smiles and frown shapes with our hem. So you literally are going to just add these diagonal curved shapes on the left and right sides of your frowns, and that is from the hem going up. Press a little harder at the beginning and then a little lighter at the end, so that way at the hem it's a little darker. As you move upward, it gets lighter. Once again, we have another avant-garde, very forward-looking tutorial for a bridal dress, and so you can see exactly how we created that hem in that tutorial. This is really just to show you the rendering of the white for the folds in the fabric. Look how simple this is. You simply are creating a very soft curved shape like a parenthesis, and it is on the left side and the right side of all of your frowns, and then at the very bottom of your hem edge you're just going ahead and pushing upward. So you're starting from the bottom going up, and you are going to lightly fill in that hem to start. Now you can see some of these lines are heavier and then lighter, and they go up, and they're all very uneven. That's really, really important. Once you've gone across the entire bottom of your sketch, go on ahead now, switch to a colorless blender, and we're going to just soften by going on top of the ink that we have already placed. So you're just literally taking that blender and softening those edges down. So we are drawing right on top of everything that we've already created. How simple is that? I told you this was really easy and highly impactful. So make sure your colorless blender has a lot of juice, because you're going to repeat this process several times until you're able to capture the depth that you personally want. Now we go back to our first marker, and guess what? We simply repeat. So starting on your shadow side, you're going back. So we don't even have several markers. We're using the same one each time, but because we're adding more color to it, starting on the shadow side, we are able to get a nice full, soft look of a really beautiful bridal gown. So go on ahead, repeat that process as many times as it works for you until you get the look that you're after. Now we're simply going to go back to that colorless blender. You are blending these layers very gently, one at a time. So each time you put down your full layer of your marker, you're going to just go back in and put a full layer of that blender. How easy is this? And you can add as much fullness once again as you want by repeating this process as many times as you like. Is it for the base. Literally, it goes light, light, light marker, whatever lightest color you're choosing to use. We only need one. And you are following those edges of those curved shapes and the edges of the details on your dress. And then you simply repeat right on top of that with your blender. Then you do it again. Add another layer of the lightest marker that you're using and another layer of blender on top, making sure that these lines are uneven so that you can see the folds are natural. Now here's the finished look. The next step after you've laid those several layers of your base is to now lay down your pattern. So go on ahead, take that fine point marker that's black and draw in some floral shapes. I've decided to have them very narrow at the top of the center of our skirt, and then I have more florals and they're wider. I've drawn much, much more as it goes down towards the hem, kind of like a triangular shape. So that was my choice, but you can choose anything you like. Then you're simply gonna take your white gel pen and draw right on top of those florals. And you're gonna take your marker, the same one that you used to color in your dress, and you're going to draw right on top of that. So your florals have these 3 layers. You've drawn it at first with a black ink, and then on top of that you have your white gel, and then on top of that you have that light marker, whatever tone you've decided to use, and that combination all together makes a very beautiful flower texture. Then after that, you're simply going to put lots of dots and swirling patterns all over the dress, as many as you'd like in as many shapes as you'd like. So I'm going to go on ahead and just pull out a scratch piece of paper and show you how to do that. So here's a close-up look at that. I have scratch paper here, and I am going to start off just by creating random shapes that look sort of like a cloud, and they're going to be representing flowers. Now remember, fashion illustration and fashion sketching and fashion illustration for designers specifically is an impression industry. So we're creating the impression of a floral lace on this bridal gown. So basic leaf shapes, nothing super skilled here. This is really basic shapes. Not even. The whole idea is to make it feel organic. And it's the technique that actually gives the impression of the flowers because of our layering. So I just started with my pen, but of course you could start with your pencil and then go with pen. So once you have your basic shapes, on your shadow side, take your marker, and remember we only used one marker. So take that marker and just touch on the inside and the outside on the shadow side. So literally, I am following the shapes on the inside and outside of each flower and each leaf. I promised you this was super easy, and you can see this actually is. It just takes time. So once you've done that, you can play with different types of shapes. So here you can see I've gone back to my pen, and I'm adding squiggle lines, just very random. I'm just sort of connecting on the left and right sides and on the tops and bottoms, just to make it feel like a pattern that's joined together. And again, this is an impression, and that's the whole entire purpose of fashion illustration. We are creating impressions. Otherwise, the other types of art that are more specific, those would be the types of art that you create a piece that's meant to hang in a gallery or on a wall. But a fashion illustration is created to make you feel excited about a garment. Now I'm going to play around with different shapes. So you can see this is a very simple shape of a closed rose. So it's a parenthesis shape, and then at the top we have a swirl. Very, very simple. Nothing too difficult to get here. And I'm just adding a little more of these same types of shapes that I started with, but you can see now it has a different feel because of the way that I'm going inside, I'm swirling, and it makes it feel like a different type of a flower. Again, speed is extremely important. And then when you add those parenthesis shapes on the bottom of it, it makes it feel like it's on a bud, and that just adds to the detail. But these are super simple techniques for you to be able to master. Now I'm just going to add a few leaves, and these leaves once again are not especially detailed. The edges are not crinkled like real leaves, and of course the entire feeling of this is supposed to feel organic and somewhat natural, but also very fashion driven. Now for those new shapes, I'm just going to take that marker. Remember, we only used one marker, and I'm touching the shadow side on the inside and outside of these new shapes. So as long as you keep that in mind, that we are consistently shadowing on our shadow side, and we are consistently doing it on the inside and the outside mostly, everything will make the eye feel like we have a consistent floral pattern. And this pattern is a lace for our bridal gown. Now here's where we start to soften the black. So grab your white ink gel pen and literally draw right on top of where we started with our black. So we are just creating an illusion of more translucence. So when you put this white ink gel pen, you can still see through it, but the black is not as harsh. And I'm just squiggling. You can see the lines are wiggly. So you're not trying to be especially precise. You just want to have the impression of the black being a lot more subdued. So going ahead and go over all of your black marks, just kind of with a wiggly line very quickly with your white ink gel pen. You could also do this with a metallic pen if you had maybe say a silver, or depending on your design, if you chose ivory instead of a light gray or light blue, you could maybe do a gold metallic pen. So see how now it's feeling shadowy and it's feeling soft. That goes along with our fabric for our bridal gown. And now I'm simply going to take this same gel pen and put squiggly lines all across the entire pattern. So that makes a feeling of a cohesive print. This lace intricately woven into this fabric that creates a floral impression is now able to sort of come together because I am putting this squiggle all across, on top of, behind, on the right side, on the left side, and it makes everything come together. It's almost like the background of the pattern that's being held together, and then it's the floral that's sort of on top. That's the impression that it gives. Now we're just going to add the white correction pen. So literally, I am pushing and squeezing so that I get dots that are fairly large. And I'm just putting them randomly all over, mostly on the black floral, so that it can still have yet another layer of translucence. And then I'm putting some, of course, in the background as well. You can add as many dots as you'd like, and you could even add a second layer of dots with your gel pen. They would be finer, so then you would have different thicknesses of these dots. And that also lends to the sparkling translucent effect that you're going to get for your final product. Now remember, I'm doing all of this so that you can really see it very closely on a blank background, but you're doing this on your fabric that you've already added your gathers to. So you're going to start to see a beautiful effect right away. Now wait for this to dry, and then from the bottom going up, once everything is very, very, very dry, you can go on ahead and grab your light colored marker that you've been using and just go over everything. But once again, it's from the hemline going upward, just so that you have the illusion of some folds on top of this print that you've created. So here we are with our finished product, and from that hemline, you're just adding a little bit more depth. And you can also go from the waist down too, but it's mostly from the hemline upward because we're really emphasizing the fullness here of this particular gown. That's pretty much the standard wedding silhouette. And you can see when you go on top of your design, it makes it feel like the flowers are truly embedded in a beautifully intricate beading lace technique, and it's nice and folded and full throughout the skirt portion of your bridal gown. I told you this was going to be super easy. I really, really, really meant it. You can even add some more highlights with your white, if you'd like, correction pen or even gel pen. But that's really and truly all there is to it. I cannot emphasize this enough. You can do it. You can do it. I'd love to hear from you and see your beautiful work. Go on ahead and send me a picture on Instagram at Corey Osuna. And until we meet again in the next tutorial, happy sketching.